Welcome back, everybody, to the Pure Ambition Podcast. And today I am beyond blessed and extremely grateful just to be able to stand in front of this mic and talk to you guys and tell you a little bit about what's happened in my life over the past 2 weeks, week and a half, about a week and a half. It's been crazy. It has been a wild, wild journey. And I'm sure many of you have seen my posts on social media, heard through the grapevine, or maybe you haven't heard at all. But on Saturday, August 5th, I went out to the track, Austin High School. A couple of my buddies, we had a plan for the week where, we're going to go out there, we're going to time our miles, get it done early in the morning, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then just go about the rest of our day. So with that in mind, I had a nice big dinner the night before, nice and hydrated, make sure I'm getting my sodium in, my electrolytes, all that. And then wake up on Saturday morning, just like I would any Saturday morning, getting ready for a run, got my water in, got my electrolytes in, went through my morning routine. Everything was normal. There was nothing different about what I would do on a typical Saturday morning, whether I was going for a long run or a workout at the gym, didn't really matter. I was up and I was moving and I was feeling good. And you know me, I was in the midst of filming a video as I was going to make a video the next day going through the attempt at I don't really so here's the thing. I really didn't know what I didn't have a goal time in mind, but I was running with some guys who had either already broken a sub 5 minute mile or were attempting to run and break a sub 5 minute mile. So in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, you know what? I could probably do a sub 5 minute mile, not knowing at all how fast that really is and how hard running an all out mile really is. Cause I haven't done it since maybe I was in like middle school was probably the last time that I had run like just a one all out mile. So got over to the track and we did a little, 10, 15-minute warm up. And there were four of us running and there were five of us there. So my guys, Bray, Gus, Gunther, and myself were all running. And then Harry, another friend, was there and he was filming, helping with the timer, just hanging out and sending the good vibes. So, started going through the 5, 10, 15-minute warm up, whatever it was. Gus and Gunther went first. So Bray, myself, and Harry all were cheering them on, giving them time splits, getting some video clips, and just, watching them crush it. And they both ran like 5 minutes on the dot. They smoked it. And I was like, okay, these boys are moving a little bit. These boys are moving a little bit. So after that, I was definitely a little nervous. I mean, I've run two marathons and ultra marathon. I've done plenty of hard track workouts. I've done plenty of tough long runs. But for some reason, I was like really, really nervous about this mile. And I had nothing to prove to anybody. I've never ran it before. I was just testing my baseline. And in my head, I was like, okay, if I could go sub 5:20, then I would be happy. So Bray and I were up and we take off. And Bray is he's a pretty fast dude. And he's been training to try to get this sub 5 for a while now. And he was pacing me. So I was just slightly behind him, just tailing him for most of the first couple of laps. At about 2 laps, at about that 800-meter mark, the half-mile mark, we were cruising. We were on pace for the 5. And, that's when things started to. So I can't really remember what happened after that. So for those of you who don't know, I ended up going into cardiac arrest after this, but we will continue on with the story. But essentially, after lap 3, I don't remember much at all. It's very in and out, and I've tried to go back and meditate on it and try to put myself back in that situation. And I just really haven't even been able to, see myself back on the track running that last like lap and a half, which is kind of scary. But all I knew is after 2 laps, I was hurting, I was sweating, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to hold that 5-minute mile pace that we had just ran for the first 800. So Bray kept a little bit ahead of me. He kept pulling a little bit further ahead, from what they said, at least. And I was dipping further back. And I do have a couple videos on my phone of me running, but it's no more than like 2 to 3 seconds. And there's nothing after I had finished the mile. So Bray ended up running a 5:06. I ended up running a 5:14, 5:15, somewhere around there. So solid for a baseline. I had never done it before. I was about 188, 189 pounds. So running 5:15 at a bigger weight is pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with it. But that's when things just got, took a turn for the worse. So again, I did nothing differently than I would typically do on a given day for one of these workouts. I woke up, I had my electrolytes, I had a big banana with a bunch of honey, and that was that. And I was ready to roll. So yes, it's hot down here in Austin. It's not as hot as it would have been like at the peak of the day at that time. So it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So it was really humid, and Austin High School track is right next to Lady Bird Lake here in downtown Austin, and gets really, really humid early in the morning. So it was hot, it was humid, but it wasn't like peak Austin heat. And so after I finished the mile, again, I have no recollection of this. I don't remember anything after, the second and a half lap. I vividly remember part of like post finishing the mile, but like very, very vividly, and I don't remember much. But apparently, thank God I had friends there, because if I didn't have this crew of people there with me at Austin High School, I wouldn't be standing here today. I wouldn't be recording this podcast, and I wouldn't be able to share this story with you guys. Apologies if I get a little emotional at any point here, but I finished the mile, and apparently I walked over towards the end of the track, and I was, panting heavily, like, like just really, really struggling to bring my heart rate down, really, really struggling to get air in, really, really struggling to just get oxygen to the rest of my body, blood flow to the rest of my body. And Harry, I believe it was Harry, came over and checked on me and was like, "Yo, like, you good, man?" I was like, yeah. I gave him a nod. And then, he had walked away, and I was just looked like I was just walking it off, trying to catch my breath. And again, this is what my friends told me would happen. And even them, this is a really traumatic experience for them too. So, they did the best they can in explaining what really happened. So from what I know is that I then like dropped down to all fours and was still struggling to bring my heart rate down, still struggling to catch my breath, still panting very heavily, and like almost like foaming at the mouth, like drooling, foaming at the mouth. Just didn't look natural and didn't sound natural. And Harry knew something was wrong. So like as I like was about to, collapse, they grabbed me, they sat me up, and then like I laid back down on the ground and I started to go unconscious. And then they sat me back up, which, again, just really grateful to have those guys there. But they sat me back up, and initially they were saying, hey, like we're gonna call an ambulance. And I was like, no. So apparently I was coherent, I was conscious, and I was saying, no, it's all good. Like I'm good. Don't worry. Like no need to call an ambulance or anything like that. So apparently I don't know what it was, if it was adrenaline or or something kicked in where I was able to be conscious with them for a short period of time. And then after that, after like sitting up and talking and being coherent and whatnot, like I started to heavily pant again. I started to do I started to like foam at the mouth again, or drool, or whatever it was. And then, I just laid back down on the ground and went unconscious. And I lost my pulse, and I started again, like having like a seizure. Or not again, but I started having like a seizure. My whole body went purple. And, from what the doctors in the hospital told me, was at that point I was dead. I had cardiac arrest. I'm 24 years old. I like to think of myself as pretty darn healthy. I exercise every freaking day. I'm very, very particular about what I put into my body, and basically, I'm trying to optimize my health every day so that I can live as the best version of myself and help others do the same. So for me to go into cardiac arrest at 24 years old after doing something like this, just it shouldn't have happened. Yeah, I was pushing myself very hard, but it shouldn't have happened. I keep coming back to that, is that I've done a lot of tough physical activity. Like I said, I've ran 2 marathons, I've done an ultra marathon, I've done a plenty of tough track workouts, hill workouts, long runs, 20 plus mile runs. I played football for 12 years. I did 2-a-days in the grueling heat every day. Played football in college. Like I've done a lot of physically taxing things in my life, and nothing like this ever happened. I've never had any heart complications, heart palpitations. I've never blacked out. I've never fainted. Nothing. Never. Nothing like this has ever happened. So I'm laying there on the ground, essentially dead. And by the grace of God, there was a man there on the track who was there with his son, just doing, a little workout with his son, who happened to be a firefighter. And Gus, shout out to Gus, one of my friends who was there, was CPR certified. So he started performing CPR on me, and the firefighter came over, and him and Gus were alternating doing CPR on me while Harry called the ambulance. And oh man. So as Harry was calling the ambulance, they performed CPR on me, and that saved my life. If Gus hadn't been there, if the firefighter hadn't been there, then I would have died right there on the track. So they were able to get a pulse back. I wasn't breathing and I was still purple, but they were able to get a pulse back. So the ambulance came there luckily in just a few minutes, and they loaded me up in the van, or the ambulance rather, and immediately went to the hospital. One thing that is just amazing too is that Harry actually got into my phone, and I don't know how this is done, but I think we need to figure this out so everybody in the world like is able to set this up, that you can have an emergency contact that you can somehow get into on your phone. And Harry eventually was able or he was able to get into my phone somehow just for my emergency contact, which was my mom. And so he actually knew my mom, so it wasn't like she was getting a call from a random stranger, but she gets the call. It's a Saturday morning for her. She said she was out on the back porch up in Pennsylvania, drinking her coffee, reading her devotional, just enjoying, sitting with the dog, enjoying her Saturday morning. And unfortunately, Mom, I love you. If you're listening, this is what you get for having 3 boys, I guess. the amount of times that she's gotten calls saying, "Hey, your son, hey, your son, hey, your son." I mean, I'm so apologetic for having to put her through things like this. Mom, I love you to death, and we'll talk about you in a little bit here. But he was able to contact my mom, tell her what happened, and she was able to get an emergency flight. Luckily, my younger brother just got his license, and so she was able to actually. Well, she actually drove him. My mom, he drove my mom to one airport, and they missed that flight because it was cutting it close anyway. So then they had to drive to a completely other airport where she got on a plane and then went to Miami and then went from Miami to Austin and got there later that night, Saturday night. But at that point, I was in the ICU. I was on a ventilator. I couldn't breathe under my own power. And seeing pictures of that of me on the ventilator is just very, very emotional. Makes me very emotional. Gets me. It's just very scary. Oh, man. So usually when you get put on a ventilator, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys know it's a very much like a last resort thing when you can't breathe on your own, and sometimes you never are able to breathe on your own, and they just have to pull the plug. So that was obviously a possibility. So from there, I'm in the ICU. I'm on the ventilator. My mom's flying in from Philly, and I have just this incredible support system of people down here in Austin who didn't leave my side from the time I was checked into the ICU on Saturday morning, Saturday around lunchtime, until the next day. And life is all about the people that you surround yourself with. And it's never been more relevant than this experience in my life. The amount of overwhelming support that I have received and love has been truly, truly amazing. And I'm literally like tearing up just talking about it. And every time I think about it, I get very emotional. But when you're on the ventilator, it's usually about 3 days before you're able to breathe on your own and that they bring you off it. So, they were all expecting, about 3 days, and they had tried to take me off of the ventilator to see if I was able to breathe on my own, I think 2 or 3 times, and it didn't work. I wasn't breathing on my own. So I had to stay on it. And this amazing, amazing story about when my mom walked into the ICU with me on the ventilator, and I hadn't been responsive at all. And she comes in, apparently. Obviously, I don't remember any of this, but I'm not responding really to the nurses. I'm not responding to the doctors. I'm not coherent. I'm not responsive at all. And man, I want you guys the waterworks for coming in this one. So my mom walks in and I'm on the ventilator, and she comes up to me and just puts her hands on me and says, "There's those let me see those beautiful green eyes." And apparently I opened my eyes and just let out a big sigh before closing them again. But all my friends who were there and my mom just said how my body went from this just like corpse looking thing to, and being just super wound up and tight, to just releasing and letting out a big smile and opening my eyes for a second, even though I haven't been conscious for, you know, hours upon hours at that point. And I really think that if my mom hadn't made it there, and if I hadn't had the support of the people there, that I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I'd be alive. I don't think I'd be talking to you guys right now. So fast forward to the next morning, Sunday morning, and they finally are going to try again to bring me off the ventilator and see if I can breathe by myself. And I'm finally able to breathe by myself. And so they take me off, and I'm high as a kite when I come off of that thing. I was on so much fentanyl and other drugs keeping me alive that I come off the ventilator and I open my eyes, and like Sunday is just a blur. Like, this is all just a blur to me. But again, this is just what my friends and family were telling me. It was like, I opened my eyes, and from what I remember, it was like they were like balloons. Like, their heads were getting all big, and then their bodies were getting all big, and I couldn't make out who was who. But I knew my mom was there, and I saw Sean, my best friend and business partner, who has been all over the freaking country over the past couple of weeks, and was literally just in Austin with me a couple of weeks ago before flying back to where he's living in Malibu. And I see him, and I'm like, Sean, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Malibu. And I just kept saying that, and they were just trying to talk to me and tell me what happened. And I was just like, but Sean, why are you here? You're supposed to be in Malibu. They're like, Mom, what the heck are you doing here? You have clients, you have patients, you got to run your business. Like, I was just going back and forth between saying those two things, which is just hilarious to me. But apparently people had come, and they were checking in on me even when I wasn't coherent. So, like, to all those people who I didn't even know had come and visited me in the hospital, and now just like talking with them and knowing that they had come to see me is just makes me very emotional and very grateful, very, very thankful for the people that I have down here in my life. I've only been in Austin for a little over a month, and I truly feel like people down here are family, and I love every single person up in Pennsylvania who I grew up with, and I know each and every one of them would have been there to see me had the circumstances been me there. But the fact that I have so many people down here is just such a blessing. All right. Snap out of it, Tommy. Come on. No more waterworks. No more waterworks. It's all gratitude. It's all gratitude. So as the drugs start to come down, it's just very emotional. Again, I've got a shout out to the people who were there. Harry, obviously, didn't leave my side. Gus and Gunther and Bray were all there. My buddy Yash, Nick Bags, I love you, brother. You were there almost every single day while I was in the hospital, and didn't leave my side. You gave my mom a place to stay so that she didn't have to sleep on the crappy hospital bed. Sean, flying in from Malibu, like, I love you. Matt, Richie, thank you for being there for me. Pastor Scott, Kat, Jack, all the people from Thrive Church, Natasha, everybody for coming to see me. Love you guys. But later on that Sunday, I got transported from one hospital to the next, where I was gonna have my heart looked at. So I was on the cardiology and electrophysiology floor of this other hospital, where I was getting my heart looked at by specialists. So these cardiologists, these electrophysiologists, just running lots of tests, lots of EKGs, and just trying to figure out why something like this would happen, why I would go into cardiac arrest at 24. And it's really sad that the more research that I did, the more and more, young males this has been happening to, which is really, really scary. And I'm really, really going to be diving into doing some research as to why this may have occurred, if there's any trends, and if there's anything that we can do to, prevent this from happening. So that was Sunday when I got transferred over there. And over the next few days, it was a lot of talking to doctors, like talking to these cardiologists, electrophysiologists, and trying to run tests. They did MRIs, they did cardiac catheterizations, they did x-rays, they did all these different tests all week long, just to try to figure out what was going on with my heart and why it sent me into cardiac arrest. And it was really frustrating because there was really nothing that was coming back to them as to definitively why this may have happened. I didn't, like, structurally, I didn't have any big problems with it. I didn't have any clogged arteries. I didn't have any super irregular heartbeats or anything like that. I do have a very low resting heart rate, like in the low 40s. So they were like, is his heart rate always this low? Is your heart rate always this low? I was like, yes. I wore a Whoop for a year and my resting heart rate was like, average was like a 43. So I do have a low resting heart rate, which, I mean, a lot of the patients they deal with on the cardiology floor, I was the youngest by like, 30, 40 years. Everybody was telling me, you're too young to be on this floor. You're too young to be on this floor. I'd be like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure this out here. So over the next couple of days, I mean, one, I just want to shout out the nurses at Ascension Seton Hospital. Like, they were so incredible, both the daytime and the nighttime nurses. And again, I understand why they've gotten recognized as some of the best nurses in the hospital, because they were just absolutely incredible. But each day was like, okay, like, can I didn't really have an appetite, but it was like, am I allowed to eat, or do I have a test today, or blah, 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 this, that, and the other. What are we doing today? Is the cardiologist coming in? I talked to so many different doctors. I don't know who was who. And, after a week of being in there, like, or I guess this was Thursday. So almost a week of being in there, they had come to the conclusion that I have a slightly enlarged heart. So basically your heart there's two parts of your heart. It's like the top two chambers are your atriums, your left and right atrium. And then they basically send signals to the ventricles, which are the bottom two chambers of the heart. And your ventricles are the ones they pump blood to your brain and the rest of your body. So one, the fact that I didn't have any brain damage, because that a lot of times when people go into cardiac arrest, time is so crucial. And the longer that you're out, the longer or the higher your chance becomes of having permanent brain damage. So the fact that I didn't have any permanent brain damage was miraculous. And, after a day or two in the hospital, really like a day, I was able to get up under my own power. I was able to walk. There was a courtyard on one little courtyard in the whole hospital on one floor, and it just so happened to be on my floor, and you can't leave your floor. So if I wasn't able to go out there and sit outside and walk laps around that courtyard, I would have gone stir crazy. That was my saving grace. And there's a statue of Mother Mary in the middle. And so I knew that she was just keeping watch over me, as well as my mom just being there by my side for, besides going back to Nick's and sleeping. She didn't have to sleep on the on the freaking couch in my hospital bed. She was there for me damn near every second. And, again, shout out to my friend also, Amanda Odgers, who flew in from Philly and literally was just there for, a little over 24 hours, 36 hours, just to hang and spend time with me. And Just the fact that I have people in my life that would do that is just incredible. And I'm so blessed. So from there, it was Thursday, and they had come to the conclusion, like I said, that I have an enlarged heart and that it was pumping blood not as efficiently as it should. So, there's I forget the number that's like represents, how efficiently you're pumping, your heart is pumping blood to your brain and your heart and the rest of your body. And so they don't know if that's because of what happened, like if it's something traumatic that happened, or obviously something traumatic happened, but they don't know if that it's a kind of result of this, scary incident happening, or if it's been like that and that could have caused it because I wasn't getting enough oxygen and blood flow to my brain and my body, that it caused the cardiac arrest. But there's that, or there's a potential that I have this thing called long QT syndrome, which essentially long QT syndrome. And I don't want to butcher this. So I'm in front of my computer right now. I'm going to give you guys a true definition of what long QT syndrome is. Long QT syndrome. This is from the National Institutes of Health.gov. LQTS is a type of conduction disorder. A conduction disorder is a problem with the electrical system that controls your heartbeat. The term long QT refers to a problem with the pattern seen on electrocardiogram, so an EKG. An EKG is a test that detects and records your heart's electrical activity. So basically a long QT syndrome. And the reason they think I could have this is because I have a really low resting heart rate. And basically it could have been like it was taking too long for my heart to get from one beat to the next. So that's a theory that they have. I have a lot. Okay, so wait, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. A heart rhythm disorder that could potentially cause fast, chaotic heartbeats. So, okay, long QT syndrome, that's what it says, is a heart rhythm disorder that could potentially cause fast, chaotic heartbeats. Long QT syndrome can be inherited or caused by a medication or condition. It often goes undiagnosed or is misdiagnosed as seizure disorder, such as epilepsy. People with this condition may not develop symptoms for a long time. So like I said, I've never had anything go wrong with my heartbeat. So that's why they think it could be this. When symptoms do occur, they can be severe and may include sudden fainting, seizures, or even sudden death. And that's why that they think this could be a potential possibility. So there's kind of two things that they've come to. One is that, I have an enlarged heart that wasn't pumping blood as efficiently, but they're also going to continue to test and see if I get diagnosed with this long QT syndrome. So still a long ways to go in terms of recovery. But basically, I didn't really have an option besides this. There's a thing called a pacemaker, which basically controls your heartbeat and sets your heartbeat at like a certain resting pace, which I chose not to do. It's a more invasive surgery and procedure that goes like into your heart and puts leads in your heart. So I would have gotten this device basically put into my chest that went into my heart that would pace my heart rate. And if anything was like this was to happen again, the pacemaker and defibrillator would shock me back, like an AED would, those big things that you see people put on their chest and they do the big shock and it just, brings them back to life. Like that's basically be implanted into my chest and into my heart. Or there was the option to do a subcutaneous defibrillator, which goes into my side, like underneath my skin, right by my left rib cage, and then leads or wires run across my breastplate and then up my chest and into my heart. And again, this will shock me and bring me back, if anything like this was to ever happen again. So I kind of had those two options, and usually you have to like qualify to get this subcutaneous ICD because you have to be young enough, you have to be healthy enough. Otherwise, they want to put the pacemaker in there. And so I really didn't want this at all. Like I didn't want the pacemaker. I didn't want the subcutaneous one that went on my side. I didn't want to take any medication. I wanted to just, pray and figure out why this happened and get more tests done and just see what could be done to prevent this. But ultimately, what the doctors kept coming back to, and, I was up just all day and all night researching everything I could about long QT syndrome and cardiac arrest and things in young athletes, and why this happened to people like myself or Bronny James or other people like that. And again, I'm very lucky to be alive. Some other people haven't been so lucky. But I kept coming back to, I don't want to sacrifice my lifestyle. I don't want to sacrifice the lifestyle I want to live, and I don't want to live in fear. Like, God does not want us to live in fear. He wants us to live boldly. He wants us to live, fearlessly. He wants us to live life to the fullest. And if I didn't get a defibrillator in, I would always be living with this thought in the back of my mind of like, it could happen again. I could do all the stress tests and, EKGs and everything, which I'm obviously going to continue to do these things to try to figure out, why this happened. And if I can get diagnosed with something that, I can figure out how to prevent this from happening again. But ultimately, I would always have to live with this fear of this could happen again. So on Thursday, I made the decision. It was a very tough decision. I'd gone back and forth with it for days to get the subcutaneous defibrillator put into my side forever. It's not something that's just in me for a little while. Like, this is going to be part of me for the rest of my life. And it was pretty scary. I watched like a video. I don't know why I did this, but I watched a video on the procedure, and, it's a little device. It's probably about half the size of your cell phone. And, it's still covered up and bandaged right now. So I haven't even really been able to look at it right now, but it's going to be noticeable. It's going to stick out from my side in my rib cage. So I had that surgery done on Friday afternoon, and I had to go under. So they put me under anesthesia. It was about a 2-hour process, 2-hour surgery. I woke up a few hours later. Again, just in a lot of pain, very foggy, very out of it from all the drugs. And that whole rest of the day is kind of just blurry. But I now have a defibrillator in my side. And if you look at me with my shirt off, you will be able to see it sticking out from my ribs. And then you can even see some of the leads and some of the wires in the middle of my chest that run up to my heart. And obviously, this is not what I expected. This is not what I wanted. But ultimately, the thought of putting my mom through what she had to go through, putting my friends and family through what they had to go through, and hearing the news and just, going through this incredibly difficult, confusing, scary situation. Like, I don't want that to happen again. And so now that I have this device in me, it gives me that peace of mind knowing that I don't have to sacrifice my lifestyle. I have this almost like safety net of, if I was to go into cardiac again, it would perform, it would shock me. Basically, if your heart rate goes below a certain point or it goes above a certain point or heartbeat, then it will shock you. So I've watched videos of it happening to people, and their defibrillator saving their life. I have to give a big shout out to Wes, one of my team members at Upspace, who sent me a video of a soccer player who collapsed in the field and his defibrillator shocked him, and you can see it like shock him. And then he sits back up and saves his life. And he gets up and walks, and it's pretty crazy. And at that point, I was really praying for a sign on whether I should get this procedure done or not. And then he sent me that video, and that was just for me a sign that I needed to get it done, because I have lots of things I want to do in life. I want to explore. I want to continue to push myself physically. I want to continue to try different things like exercise, working out, training, even just being able to perform day-to-day tasks. And again, like just traveling to new places and connecting with new people. Like exercise and movement and physical activity is such a big part of my life. And I didn't want to sacrifice that for my own pride or my own ego of not having this defibrillator put in. So that's a part of me now, somewhat of a robot. What's really cool though is they're coming out with like a smaller version of it. So, years down the road, I could get the smaller one put into my side, which isn't as big and bulky. Not that it's anything crazy, but it's definitely there. It's definitely noticeable. In terms of getting back to like exercise and whatnot, I've actually been able to continue to walk. Like, so luckily I'm staying at my buddy Noah's right now while I still look for a permanent residence here in Austin. And his apartment building has a treadmill, which has been, a godsend for the past couple of days, because I'm not supposed to sweat, because I'm not supposed to, it would risk like getting the incision infected. And so I couldn't shower for the first 72 hours after surgery. And oh my gosh, people, the pain and soreness that my side and my chest have been in. Thank God my mother has been here, and that I have had great friends that have helped me with what I needed. I went and got a new bed last night at Costco, and if it wasn't for my mom and for my friend Kat, shout out to you guys, I would not have. I don't know how we would have been able to set this up, because I can't hold anything more than like a heavy book in my left arm on my left side right now. There's so much pain I'm in, and I really have to ease my way back into it. There's really nothing I can do besides some walking and some mobility and some body weight, lower body strength stuff. I can do some like lunges and calf raises and tib raises and things like that, just to keep myself active, or I'm going to go stir crazy. But able to do some walking. So, just trying to get about an hour in a day, 20 minutes at a time. So I'm not pushing myself too much and not sweating, and, unfortunately. So we're going to have a crazy detox in a couple of weeks. That sauna session is going to be amazing. I can't wait to just get outside again, walking with my shirt off, getting that vitamin D, which I'm already missing. I already look at myself and I already look pale from being in the freaking hospital for a week. But overall, I am just extremely blessed for the doctors, that the surgery went well, and that I now have this thing, inside of me that's gonna essentially save my life, and I can hopefully sooner than later get back to living the life that I want to live. But I've been thinking a lot about where I go next in life and why this happened to me. I had a pretty profound experience at church a couple weeks ago when I went to Thrive Church in Austin for the first time. And this woman who's a member of the church put her hands on me and prayed for me and said, I don't know you. I don't know your story. I don't know anything about you, but I just want to let you know that I felt the need to pray over you, because I feel like God is telling me to tell you that you have an assignment. And I was like, whoa, that is freaking powerful. And that was 2 weeks before this happened. So I've been thinking about a lot about it, praying a lot about it, meditating about it, just figuring out, what my assignment is. And, I always talk about my mission of inspiring and empowering 100 million people to become the healthiest, happiest, and most fulfilled version of themselves. That's my ultimate mission. But, how I do that is broken up into, I guess, these, smaller missions and smaller assignments. So I had been thinking on that, and I continue to think about that now. But I was able to go to church on Sunday after being released from the hospital on Saturday. Still in a lot of pain, but I felt like I needed to be there and just be around that community. And very emotional walking in there and just having everybody pray over me was amazing. But Miss Joe is her name, and she came up and talked to me after after church, after the service, and said, I didn't tell you this, but I also saw the Lord telling me that you were going to be tested. And she's like, I didn't know it was going to be that quick. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, me either. Freaking kidding me. So she told me that, and I've been thinking about, was it God that led me to this and it being a test, like a wake up call for me as just a part of my journey? Like I truly believe this happened for me. It didn't happen to me. And again, I'm grateful for it happening and being part of my story. Like I'm not angry with God. I'm not angry with the universe. And I know that this happened at the exact time and the exact place that it was supposed to happen. Like everything that transpired was meant to be. And again, if I wasn't at Austin High School track, then the firefighter wouldn't have been there. Then my life potentially would have been lost. So like all these things, but from changing the location of where we were going to run to the firefighter being there to all these things being transpiring and happening, all happened for a reason. But I've been thinking about, like, did this happen as a result of God testing me, or was it the devil trying to take me down? Because I believe my mission is so strong and I want to build a community of people and just ultimately like an army for good in this world to help people, spread love, spread good health, spread happiness, and just be a light in this world for as long as, God allows me to walk this earth. And so I've been teetering with this. It's like, okay, God, did you test me or did you save me? Right. So either way, I have a newfound appreciation for life. I have a newfound gratitude for each little thing that happens every day. When you die and come back, really changes your perspective a bit. And I feel that now my mission's even stronger, and I even have more of a sense of urgency to do the things that I've like been saying that I want to do that I haven't necessarily taken action on, or I've been thinking about. One of those things being, service trips. I did those in high school, and they were some of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done. So orchestrating a trip to Tanzania in February. And I'll have more details to come soon about this. If any of you guys want to join me in this mission trip to Tanzania, it's going to be freaking epic and unbelievable. But I want to show up for people the way that other people showed up for me. I feel like I can get caught up in my own ambitions and my own pursuits and say like, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. But when people in your life need you, like, you show up. The people that came and spent time with me in the hospital, the people who were just there by my side, even when I wasn't conscious, like, everybody's got things going on. Everybody's got, work. They've got families. They've got all these things. But the fact that people still had time to spend hours upon hours with me and take time out of their day and out of their lives is just really, really incredible. And again, I'm just so grateful. Like I'm so just people see me like, you look so happy, you look so joyful, you look so full of life despite what happening. And freaking yeah, like you die, like you can look at it one of two ways. Like you can just like question why it happened to you and be angry, or you can just take this as like, okay, this was something that was supposed to happen to me. This is part of my story. This is a part of the next chapter of my life. Like I never would have expected this to happen, but I'm grateful that it did, because it is just done nothing but strengthen my mindset, strengthen my mission. And brought me closer to God, brought me closer to a lot of people down here in Austin, brought me closer to a lot of people who I've never even met. And hearing just stories about how, me just sharing my story and has been an inspiration to other people. And that's just all the more reason why I feel like I need to continue to share this message, share my story, and continue to, help make an impact in this world. I posted a reel or a TikTok or some sort of piece of content every day for, a year plus. And, basically like almost 2 years, really. Yeah, almost 2 years of posting every single day. And, I've posted once over the past 2 weeks, and it was just to explain to people what had happened. And I've really built my quote unquote, I've built my community online based on, going from being like a football player, a college football player, to an average runner, just trying to figure it all out, and just documenting my journey of how I'm learning this new thing called running, and have been just overwhelmed by the community that is the running community. It's given me so many opportunities to connect with so many cool people, hear so many stories, connect with awesome brands, build Upspace, which is the company that I'm building with some amazing other guys, and just explore life through movement and health and wellness. So it's just been crazy. I'm just losing my train of thought at this point. So I'll begin to wrap it up here soon. But I've created content for a long time, and I've built my community. I've built my brand based on like doing physical challenges, preparing for marathons, preparing for ultra marathons, sharing what I'm eating for it, sharing my workouts, all this kind of stuff. And, that's all taken away from me. Like I signed up for a marathon this fall with the intentions of trying to PR that, and, just a lot of big plans in terms of like where I wanted to go from a content perspective. And, now that all shifts, because for the next couple of weeks, couple of months, however long it takes, I'm going to be focused on getting myself healthy, getting back to, just walking, getting back to running, getting back to like weightlifting a little bit, and just taking care of my body. And so while I can't exercise hard right now, I'm really leaning into the mental and spiritual side of things. So a lot of meditations. Shout out to Theta Breathwork. If you guys haven't checked it out, please go check out Theta Breathwork. It's one of the most impactful, incredible experiences you can have. My friend Bia, she is the founder of it. And so I've been doing the meditations through the guided meditations through her. I can't quite do the breathworks yet because it still hurts to breathe. Some Joe Dispenza meditations, which are absolutely some of the most powerful things you can ever do. And just sitting with my thoughts, just really thinking, meditating, and being with my thoughts, trying to decipher this, why it happened, kind of put myself back in that situation on that day, and what happened. But even beyond all of that, it's like, where do I go from here? How do I use this to inspire and empower even more people? And so doing the deep work, doing the inner work, journaling, meditating, all this kind of stuff, has always been like resistant for me, but making the time to do that every day now over the past couple of days has been really, really monumental. And I have some really, really amazing ideas, and I've had some really awesome breakthroughs, and I'm excited to put them into action and continue to share them with you guys. But that kind of is what my life looks like over the next couple of weeks. Is a lot of doctor's appointments. It is a lot of, thank God, not taking medication, because I refused to take any of the medications that they tried to put me on. I was like, I will get the defibrillator, but I'm not going to take medicine. at least for, the first like 6 weeks, to see if my heart, if it gets back to normalcy or gets any better. And if not, maybe I'll consider taking the medications. But for right now, I'm working on letting God heal and looking into some more holistic practices, some more holistic medicines and remedies to help recover. So I'm doing a lot of research on that, because I do think that everything we need is here for us on the earth. But really just kind of thinking about the next stage of my life, and leaning into, okay, what, there's these things that I've wanted to do, but there's also, God telling me, hey, take a step back here, kid. I got different plans for you. And that clearly happened here. So for me, I'm just trying to be open to that. And I think a lot of times in life, we have these things that we want to do, that we want to do, that we want to do. Sometimes we just need, hopefully we can just get a more gentle reminder from us for people, but sometimes you need something like this to really change your perspective and say, oh, okay, maybe that's not what God wants for me. He wants something else. He has different plans for me. And so for me right now, it's thinking about those things and how I want to take this and move forward in my life. But overall, I just want to express my gratitude. If you've made it this long into this podcast, thank you for listening. If you've, reached out to me through social media or texted or called or FaceTimed, or even if you just sent thoughts and prayers, I really believe that those thoughts, prayers, those healing energy, those healing vibes and everything saved my life, because I'm getting all these messages about people who have been praying for me and sending healing energy. And I really believe that that's what saved my life, because I am not strong enough. I am not fully capable of accomplishing my mission in life without having people beside me. And people ask how I'm going to inspire and empower 100 million people. And I believe that that's by inspiring, empowering one person at a time. And it creates this web, it creates this domino effect. And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the prayers, for all the thoughts, and for the positive vibes that have been sent my way. I don't know where I go from here exactly, but all I know is that I need to keep moving forward, trusting God, keep doing the inner work, keep meditating, keep praying, keep journaling, keep being open to the universe telling me and leading me and guiding me towards what I'm ultimately supposed to be doing and where I'm supposed to be going. And hopefully I have a long road ahead of me to continue to try to figure these things out. But I'm incredibly grateful for all the people in my life, for all the people who have shown support in any way, shape, or form. And I am just really, really excited for this next chapter in my life. I feel like I'm a new person, which is kind of crazy to say, but I feel like this was like a rebirth almost. And I was given a second chance at life, and I'm not going to waste it. And my hope for you all from hearing my story is that this doesn't scare you into, like I'm you have this in the back of your mind when you go out to do a workout or things like that. Like, I want you to push yourself as hard as possible. This is just a freak thing that happened. And, there could be some pre-existing heart things that I didn't know about that happened. But I want my story and my experience to inspire you to go out there and take action on whatever it is that you've been wanting to take action on, that you've been thinking about. Whether it's signing up for a race or just getting to the gym or starting that nonprofit or going on that trip, asking that girl out, asking that guy out, starting your own podcast, your YouTube channel, creating content, starting your own, like trying to become a maybe professional artist or singer, songwriter, actor, pursuing whatever goal that comes to your mind. Just know that life is way too short to not do it. And if you would ask yourself, if I was to die today, would I be happy with my actions and the progress that I made in life today, the way that I conducted myself, the way that I treated others? And did I live in a way that is going to leave this world better than I found it? Because those are questions that I've been asking myself. Thank you guys for listening. I know it was a long one. Got very emotional with this, but that's just, I felt the need to share this. I was going back and forth with whether I was going to do a podcast on this, but I felt like I needed to release and share this story, and feel like a weight's been lifted off my chest. And again, I love it. I love, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you who are tuning in today. And if there's ever anything that you're going through, if you're going through something tough, hard time in your life, like, please reach out to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram, shoot me an email, connect with me. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to help you. Join my community as well. I'll have it linked in the show notes, but I have a community on Upspace where, we talk about health, happiness, love, the pursuit of excellence. And, it's free to join right now. So go check it out. I'd love to have you there. But ultimately, please just if you're struggling, or if you're going through anything, just know that you have one person who cares about you. Actually two. You've got God who cares about you and is putting you through that for a reason. It's happening for you. It's not happening to you. And then you got me, because I care about you and I love you. So that is the podcast. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for making it this long. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm excited for what this next chapter of my life is going to bring. And I hope that I am able to impact you positively in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just through my content or, actually connecting. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.